Wedge shots are arguably the most important aspect of your game. We all like to hit the long drives, the crisp iron shots, but it's the fiddly shots around the green that makes the difference between birdies and bogeys. And because of this, it's often the shot where people tighten up and almost forget the technique and end up doing something that we would call the yips. Those weird, janky movements you can't seem to stop or control. And there's one drill that is going to help the consistency of your chipping. And you're keeping the same technique, we're just changing club. I know this sounds a little bit weird, but I learned this from Bryson DeChambeau's long-time coach. And when you go back to using your regular wedge to chip with, it's going to be so much easier and your confidence is going to skyrocket. Let's show you how. You've probably seen countless lessons, even on YouTube, or had chipping lessons that are giving you technique, telling you how to stand, what to feel, how to use the wrists, many variables just for a basic chip shot. Now there are a few tweaks that can help make it a lot easier with a lob wedge, sand wedge, or whatever you want to use around the green to chip with, but there is a lot of variables that people kind of get confused with.
I'm not yelling, I'm confused.
Because under pressure, the wrists start taking over a little bit too much, the body stalls, and then we're like, okay, do we have to use the body more? So we end up going a bit too quickly, or maybe even sort of thinning it. And we get anxious and nervous, and whether we're off the fairway or out of the rough, whether we've got 10 yards or 20, 30 yards, it starts to get a bit unenjoyable because we start to get stressed about really screwing the shot up. When for the most part, all we really want to do with authority and trust that we can do it is make just an okay move that gives us an okay strike on the ball that we can rely on. And this little trick, it's not really a trick, it's just something to force you into an easier technique. And then we bridge the gap to making it easier with the lob wedge. To get a very good chipping technique, you're not going to use your wedge right now, you're going to grab your 4-iron. If you don't have a 4-iron, grab the longest iron you have. Before you assume, I'm not telling you to do a bump and run. This is a chipping technique to pop the ball up, but we're using it with the 4-iron. The idea behind this is to reduce variables. I'll probably keep saying that because it's something that's very profound and very effective to improving basic chipping. So we're trying to assume the same kind of setup. Weight a little bit forward, pretty neutral, a little bit closer to the ball. But when we put a 4-iron in our hand, yes, we have to stand a little bit further away. I'm not talking about chipping down, and I'm not trying to sort of lob it up or get the same height as I would with a wedge. My main focus is on a nice technique and good contact. So when I take this setup, I'm still trying to stay neutral, balanced. I'm still feeling exactly the same method that I would with that wedge. But I notice something that as I'm doing it, everything just feels a bit wider, a little bit smoother. I have a longer club, so it's in a way helping me a little bit. But if I get a bit wristy, it feels very awkward because it's a longer club, because there's less loft. But I need to trust that my technique will still pop the ball up. I don't have to try and help it up. I don't have to do too much. Here is where I want you to be with your sand wedge. I'm on a bit of an upslope, so I'm following the slope a little bit. But ball just on the inside of my left heel, shaft pretty straight, pretty vertical, and my technique is minimal wrist movement going back and through. I'm not trying to get too flirty with my wrists. I don't mind if they move a little bit, but I'm not trying to do too much. The main feeling is staying balanced, keeping my weight where it is, and moving this triangle around me to pop that ball up, okay? That's the same technique here. If I take the setup the same, I've got to stand a little bit further away, but the ball position, my method is exactly the same, and weirdly, it just feels a little bit easier to keep this unit together, to not try and do too much. Because if I do, it's going to be very difficult to kind of hit a chip or get too much body into it. I have to stay still. I have to stay minimal in my movements. And I'm just moving it back and moving it forward. Do I want to try and hit it high? No. Do I just want to make sure that I get a good contact? And it's not even about trying to hit specific distances at this point, because I'm not aiming for anything in particular. I'm just trying to get the technique to be the same. So I'm staying neutral and I'm releasing the club and I'm getting a nice little contact. It pops up just a hair, but it's coming out the sweet spot, and that is the method, the feeling that I want to connect with. So how often should you do this? Before I tell you how to practice with your long iron to chip with, I just want to tell you about our short game fix. It's giving you the best, most effective lesson for the most important shots that you're faced with around the green. It's simple, you can execute the lesson today and you will score better. Follow that link below and I'll see you on the other side. You can't practice this enough, especially if you're struggling around the greens under pressure. Now, you don't have to come out on the golf course, you don't have to go to a practice area. You can actually really work on this at home, just off a carpet, hitting into a cushion. Because remember, we're focusing more on the technique rather than the result. We're just trying to make good contact with our chip shots. However, once you've practiced maybe 5 minutes a day, even that, just using a forehand, just trying to sort of pop it forward, getting that good contact, realizing what has to happen to have a reliable movement, that we hardly need any sort of movement at all, okay? The better you get at that, the more loft you get out of it without trying to lift it up, the more confidence you're going to have when it comes to using a wedge. Now we've got a difficult lie here, it's into the grain, it's a little bit soft. I wouldn't chip this normally, but I'm just demonstrating. My only intention for this shot is to try and replicate that same 4-iron technique, okay? It was the same method, exactly the same technique. But as you're practicing this, I would, to begin with, try 2 or 3 shots, bump and run it, you know, just doing this technique with the 4-iron. And you can get more confident to hit it a little bit further and further and further, so it starts popping up in the air. But don't go more than 30 yards with it. Then you flip. This is about bridging the gap. I've told the neurological pathways in my head what I'm trying to do, and I'm literally trying to do the same method, okay? It's exactly the same technique. That is the art of simple golf. Let's reduce the variables, let's play better golf, and let's have more fun. I do hope you enjoyed that lesson, and I hope even more that you put this into practice. It has transformed so many golfers that I've shared this with already, and I know it'll be the same for you. Now, if you want to make sure that you don't miss as many greens in the first place, this lesson is going to make it that much easier to hit your iron solid, so you don't have to worry about as many chip shots. See you next time.